we don't have time to waste because GCSEs are now very soon. And now is what I like to call the golden zone. Because how you use the time that you have between now and your exams is going to determine what results you get when you open that envelope in August. Because I remember this time last year, I was thinking to myself, no wait, actually GCSEs are so soon, I should have studied more. Because my mocks hadn't been too good. And yet, due to other commitments and a little procrastinating, okay, maybe more than a little procrastinating, but the point is, I had very little time to get my grades up. But I implemented certain strategies and tactics that don't work in the long run, but they were just what I needed to help me stay locked in, cram a lot of materials, and push me over the finish line. And this really is the golden zone. I've seen with my own eyes students who studied hard for 3 years but got burnt out and took their foot off the gas during these last couple of moments and ended up getting low grades, whereas me and my friends used this last sprint well, kept momentum, got great grades, and the grades that I got should motivate you that you can get the same. And so how this video is going to work is I'm going to start with how you can stay motivated and locked in, which is actually the most important because that's something that gets you studying, right? Then how to study and remember fast in a way that's going to get you ready for GCSEs, and then end with subject specific tips. So firstly, how to stay locked in. I deleted all social media apps. I deleted my favorite games. I stopped watching movies and shows. And I'm going to be honest, that's what it's going to take. The way I did this is I told myself that after the exams, I could do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to, I could watch all the movies I wanted to watch, all the shows, I could play all the games, I could scroll for hours if I really wanted to, but all after the exam. I asked myself the question, was it worth it? Was the pleasure of social media, scrolling, worth it for me to get a lower grade? And the answer for me to that question was no. I would literally count down the days left to keep me locked in. It's just 3 more weeks, it's just 15 more days, it's just 14 more days, and then I'll never have to study history ever again. Bro, you've put so much time in, you studied for years for this, you've gone to school for hours, and how much would it suck if I didn't get the top grade to finish off with all of that? I constantly tell myself these things to keep me motivated right up until the end. Going kind of extreme on all these things, deleting apps and really locking in was powerful for me because I was fully immersed and all I cared about at that moment, this time last year, was about the GCSEs and getting the good grades. I would constantly visualize me opening up the results day letter. And regardless of the results, the one thing that I did promise myself, I just wanted to not wish that I had studied harder when I had the chance. That I wished I had deleted that game, or that I wished that I had scrolled less. Because by then, when I would be feeling those emotions, it would be too late. And that's the reason that I did those things. And it really did help me lots. Because it gave me more time to study and remember. And so with the motivation and desire to push on until the end, let's get on to how to remember fast. Your top priority at this point should be to remember and retain as much information as possible, especially in GCSE. And at this stage, whether it's quotes, formulas, chemical reactions, or vocab, we've all wished like that we just had photographic memory so we can memorize all of this stuff, right? But instead of trying to memorize lots, which would require a great amount of time and really good memory on top of that, focusing on actually reducing the amount that you need to memorize in the first place can be the alternative to increasing the speed at which you remember. The first way that you can do this is by predicting what will come up in your exams. And there's a risky way to do this and a non-risky way to do this. If you search up on YouTube for English 2025 paper predictions, there are people that go through what texts have come up and what haven't, and they come up with a predicted kind of sample paper of what they think your paper is going to look like. And I went through all of these and I did these questions, and they can be useful and they were accurate in my case, but they can be risky, right? There's always a risk involved. And so although you can use this, the better way that you can do this is to actually search up for past papers and then do a lot of them. The past paper is basically the exam that you're going to be sitting, with the questions and context slightly different. This way I was able to actually predict which topics would be tested more in certain subjects, like in the sciences, and I actually completely ignored topics that I never saw while doing past papers. And so that reduced a lot of the stuff that I had to study and revise for. You also need to be deciding, more importantly, where you're going to shift your focus on. For me, I knew that my strong subjects were maths, English and music, and I had always got high marks for them also in my mocks as well. And so for my GCSEs, I actually didn't study those subjects at all, but by doing that I had more time to revise and study the subjects that I was weak at. I was giving myself more time and I had reduced the total amount of stuff that I had to memorize. And my scores in Latin, music and maths did drop because I didn't revise for them. But remember, the goal is a 9, not 100%. And so even though the marks for those subjects did drop, I still got a 9, and the other grades in other subjects that I was weaker at got up really quickly because I was able to focus my attention like a laser in specific areas that I wanted to. You can actually do this also within subjects. Most subjects you do multiple papers, right? You have paper 1 biology, then paper 2, and also within that you have multiple different sections. If you know that you have limited time to revise for English, for example, just focus on revising the 22 marker and the 12 marker for English, which is question 4 and 5 within the exam. Because although revising questions 1 to 3 as well would have been good, they're only worth about 1 to 2 marks. And so by revising the big questions and focusing on that gives you the biggest bang for your buck. This is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. You want to be focusing on areas within each subject that is going to give you the most amount of value. And I will be going into detail in the subject specific areas about what in each subject is the most important to at this point. So that's ways to reduce the amount to remember to study faster. But you can also make your revision and study more efficient by solely focusing on active revision methods, which is by doing flashcards and past papers. I searched up pre-made flashcard sets on Quizlet and did them whenever I could. That way I didn't have to waste time making the flashcards, but I could just focus on testing myself and focusing on the retention by doing flashcard sets that already existed, and that increased how much I remembered, with the same principle applying to past papers, testing my knowledge. And so with the subject specific tips and the thing that you should be focusing on to give yourself the most value. For maths, you just need to do lots and lots of questions. Textbook questions, past papers, these are your friend. Get used to them, and also watch walkthroughs on YouTube of people solving your exact paper if you get stuck. English, memorize only what you have to. I just memorized the skeleton essays, the bare minimum for every single text. As you can see, I knew the structure really well, but I relied on my exam and unseen skills of just formulating an essay to cook up an argument in the exam. I didn't bother memorizing all of these things. For your literature, read your book well. For biology, chemistry, physics, and your sciences, Save My Exams Physics and Maths Tutor are your best friend. Spam past papers and questions. Keep a note of your mistakes. They're gonna feel kind of like a grind, but by doing a lot of these questions, you get used to the questions that they can ask you, and you memorize off the mark scheme, which is really important in being able to formulate your answers in the way the mark scheme and examiners want. Especially for biology and chemistry, make sure you know the key concepts, things that you just need to memorize. For chemistry, this might be your core symbols, like for sulfate, SO42-, etc. For biology, the key different food tests. Knowing these things that you know are going to come up in your exam are ways to get free marks. For history, make a timeline of all the events and bullet point the key points within each event. I did this and I stuck them on my wall. As you can see, they're still there. Having that and looking at that often was really key in history. For French, learn the vocab. I was bad at French, but I just learned these level 9 phrases that sound really cool and techie. But I also knew my vocab well, and this is all you need for GCSE level. Latin, I just spammed vocab. I knew all of the vocab, and that led me to be able to do really well in the language paper, which was enough to get me the grade 9. Music, I made a table comparing each of the elements that are needed for GCSE level. And this actually leads onto a bonus point, which is to look at the spec and know and revise and study only what you have to, because they can only test you what's on the spec. And so that was the way that you cannot screw up your GCSEs and use this time wisely to get the grades that you should be getting and the grades that you deserve. But before I go, just a quick announcement about using past papers and flashcards, etc. You know how much I emphasize the importance of past papers. It's one of the best ways that you can prepare yourself for GCSEs. So I decided to create a deep guide on past papers specifically, including all of my methods, strategies, and processes. It's called the Exam Prep Shortcuts, and I just launched it, and so click on the link below in the description to access that. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck in your GCSEs, and make sure to come back here and leave your results once you get them in the comments to tell us how well you did. But as always, I'll see you in the next one.